Collection of my issues of Romantic Times magazine, a magazine about romance novels that was published from 1981 till I think 2016. And there's not a checklist available of it on the internet that I've seen, so information can be kind of hard to come by about it. But there's about 60 issues here, so we're just going to run through some of these highlights of these real quick. I only have about 21 minutes on my phone memory card, so I'm going to have to be very quick about that. So I apologize for rushing through all these. So these are the magazines. Now I'm also my oldest one here, issue number 26 from January, February 1986, is my only newspaper format, and I think it was one of the last issues of the newspaper format. So we're going to look at that first. I'll move these magazines out of the way because the newspaper format is kind of big, so there'll be a lot of pausing in this video, for which I apologize. So here's the newspaper tabloid format, Romantic Times, number 26, and you just fold it out like that, and very carefully open it up. And they had pretty much the same format as later years, except it was I think the magazine got a little better as it went along, but still pretty good and informative too. There's Catherine Falk, who's the publisher of the magazine, and so there's Fern Michaels. Love, Honor, Betray was a new book that came out. I actually just happen to have a copy of Love, Honor, Betray here, and there's the step back. You can see it in glorious color. But there's Rebecca Brandywine. So there would be photos, advertisements. It was Catherine Falk was a big believer in promoting, authors promoting themselves and publishers promoting books. There's Lindsay McKenna and Barbara Taylor Bradford. And Barbara Cartland. As you can see, there's lots of photos. And now, especially when you have the, there's Karen Robards. A lot of events, happening in this, like group photos stuff. There's Kathleen Woodwis. This was a historical romance tete-a-tete. Kathy Robin was the one who did a lot of the historical romance reviews. And it says, will Madeline Brent reveal herself? Madeline Brent was actually later revealed to be a male writer. There's Jennifer Blake, historical romance writer, who also wrote as Maxine Patrick back in the late 70s, doing contemporaries. And there's Patricia Matthews, leaves Bantam and signs with Worldwide. So back in these days, you'd have like a ceremony where they show the signing of the contract. All these series romance reviews, Love Swept, Harlequins, and this isn't even all of the ones that were being done back then, just the ones they reviewed. The Newest Star, Linda Howard. And again, reviews. This is sort of like the internet before the internet. A book excerpt from Jane Ann Krentz with an introduction by her editor at Warner Books. Future Fantasy Reviews. Regency. Collecting Robert McGinnis art. Did the cover of the Joanna Lindsay. Publishers previews. If you want to know what's coming out from each of the publishers, Danielle Steele there. There's Rosemary Rogers and her editor, Nancy Coffey, who's also the editor that brought The Flame and the Flower to Avon in 1972. There was one funny thing back here, looks like I missed it, where mainstream contemporary Reviews, there was a review of Jewel of the Nile, the novelization of Jewel of the Nile, the movie, and it was reviewed by Lisa Kleypas, who, this is from 1980, January, February 1986. So, you know, she wasn't even a published writer back then, Lisa Kleypas. She must have been just a reader. I think she sold her first book in 86, but she didn't have a novel published, I don't believe, until 87. You know, so, which was her first book. She was like 21 years old. So anyways, that's a tabloid size Romantic Times. And I can show you one of the magazine ones real quick here, of the early ones. This is the same year, 1986, issue number 32. And again, you can see this is a lot easier to turn the pages, but you still get a lot of the same type of information. And what you would often see is like author profile, Dorothy Garlick, and on the facing page would be like a ad for her new book. So the publisher would, you know, put in an ad, and then you also have the author talking about the book, which normally you don't get in the book. So it sort of provides a lot of background. This was interesting. It was Signet was doing a historical Gothic romance line, very briefly, evidently, because I'd never heard of it before. But here's issue number 48. And this one has a little insert. You know, before the internet, you want to read a preview of a forthcoming novel. Well, there's a little insert in here. And there's Barbara Cartland again. Flavia Nightbridge was the sort of gossip columnist of. They would always have a column at the beginning of each issue. And we'll just run through some of these real quick. Here's the historical tete-a-tete column again. And like I said, oh, there's Judith McNaught. Christmas card, that's Judith right there. Nan Ryan, Thanks Romantic Times. Iris Johansson. The first Trump Award to Linda Shaw. No, that's not don't have anything to do with Donald Trump as far as I know. Phoebe Kahn, Steps into Futuristic Romance. You know, futuristic romance, time travel romance, you know, that was just starting. The 1980s and 90s, to me, was an explosion of different subcategories and subgenres in romance. This is the little preview thing. And I think it was a really exciting time. You know, sometimes you have people kind of dismissing this era, but to me it was a very exciting, a glorious era, really. But again, there's so much information in these books, or in these issues of this magazine, that are great if you want to immerse yourself in, you know, especially some of these authors. You know, they might have written one book and then never did anything again. You know, so this is one of the rare places you can find information about them. Now, this is issue number 50. Like I said, they went from only even numbers apparently until they went monthly with number 87. So this is number 50. There's a beautiful front and side cover. Now these were just the magazine, not the magazine, the paperback book covers of would be supplied by the publisher. So in a way, it's just promoting, you know, the books. But on the other hand, you get to see what's coming out and stuff. Now this 50th issue sort of talks about the history of romance as well. So you see 3 of the more important writers there. There's a thing about Laurie McBain, and it says, Laurie McBain's reflections arrived too late for this issue and will be printed in the next issue. One of the things that I found interesting was, you know, there's a McFadden romance by Diana Palmer, early Diana Palmer book. You'd find things on the internet saying, Laurie McBain retired from writing after 1985. But then you read these 1988, 1989 issues of Romantic Times, and she's working on a new novel, and that novel never came out. So it's fascinating. There's a history of Romantic Times. There's Catherine Falk reading the second issue, and Rosemary Rogers and Jennifer Wilde, aka Tommy Huff, and so on. So I'm going to pause it and we'll take a look at another issue here. Now here's issue number 52 from June-July 1988, and there's an ad for Harlequin Historical, introducing Harlequin Historicals, which just came out. There's a picture of Lisa Kleypas and some stuff there. There's Flavia's column, and there's a thing about Lisa Kleypas there. Lisa Kleypas, let's see if we can get it in there. Lisa Kleypas was featured in People magazine, saw her first book published, and graduated from Wellesley all last year. And another Harlequin Historicals thing. And where some of the writers of the Harlequin Historicals first few books, like there's a thing about Nora Roberts talking about why she wrote a historical novel. Pageant Books, which was a short-lived line of a short-lived publisher from the 1980s. Heather Graham, Karen Robards, and so on. Actually, at the end here, there's a thing of hot bookstores. There was sort of romance-friendly bookstores would have be featured. And I mentioned before about Laurie McBain. Here's the thing from the previous issue, said her thing arrived too late. So here was Laurie McBain remembering. And again, this is 1988. And it says, Laurie is working on a manuscript, but no publication date has been announced. So she was still writing, even though the internet says she wasn't. And then we have I'm missing issue number 54. And then we have issue number 56. And so on. We'll just go through some of these real quick here. Actually, what I should probably do is just show the covers of some of these. Plus, there's issue number 100 I want to show, so we'll do that. I'll run through some of these covers. So this was 56, and they also have great back covers as well. 58, with just showing the various magazines, or the books that were on sale at that time. There's Lindsay McKenna again, Catherine Sutcliffe. Number 64, Dorothy Garlock. Rebecca Brandywine, number 66. Leisure Books, 68. This is funny. Brenda Joyce posing with an Indian who's taking her away, but according to the article, he's actually an Israeli, just dressed as an Indian. And move these over here. Another Brenda Joyce cover. Laura Kinsale, number 80. 82. 84. And then 87 is the first monthly issue of Romantic Times. They canceled Rave Reviews, their companion magazine, and then they just put it at the back of Romantic Times. So now they don't do the even number thing anymore, so every number would be number 90. I'm missing 80, 88, and 89. Number 91, another great back cover. 93, 94, 95. Let's see here. Oh, I put number 100 early. 96. Now this 97, I think, is the first Fabio cover. Elizabeth Thornton there. 98, 99, and then we get to 100. We're going to spend some time on 100 because it also talks about the history of romance in there too. I'm going to pause the video. So here we have issue number 100 with Fabio on the cover. Now the thing to understand about Fabio is that Romantic Times and Catherine Falk were all about promotion of the romance genre. So Fabio was a vehicle for getting coverage of the genre, to Entertainment Tonight, People Magazine, and stuff like that, and which worked successfully, beyond their dreams. But The bad part about it, oh, this is an interesting article here, charting the course of romance fiction. It's sort of a 6-page history of the um, mass market paperback type genre of romance. Um, the bad thing about it is, of course, is that it a lot of people then just sort of pigeonholed romance as all Fabio. Even though there was, as this article here says, something for everyone in the garden of romance fiction: science fiction, fantasy, futuristic, supernatural, new age, historical, gothic, time travel, suspense, um, Regency. There's a history of romance cover art. It's not all Fabio. So various authors of in the genre. So the negative thing about Fabio was that he became, more popular and more than the authors and in the public imagination among the people who do not read romance. So, and it sort of confirmed their idea that romance was all trivial and silly and unreal and things like that. But at the time, he worked to what he was intended to do, which was to publicize the books. That's why he was there. There's an article about Nora Roberts talking about her early days and so on. Casey Michaels, so on. So we're going to take a look at more of the issues here. I'll pause this. All right, now we're going to do another quick run through all these books from 101 to 132. So it's from 1992 to 1995. So just so you can see the covers. And then at the end, I think I'll stop and, if I have enough time, there's Brenda Joyce Fabio cover. I have that book as well. If I have time, I'll run through some more highlights if I can. And so we're at number 114, 115, Fabio's first novel, 116, 117, Fabio Fantasy, 118, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. There was in the early 90s, Ann Stewart article, 119, 120, there was a Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with Nora Roberts on it, which I did not know until reading these magazines. Which it would be great if more of this stuff was on YouTube or something. Here's Arabesque, the introduction of Arabesque Sandra which was a African-American romance line, which, was something that was ignored for much of the 1980s, but in the 90s started to become more prominent as there was more diversification of genres and subgenres. 129, 130, 131, and 132, which also has a back cover for Arabesque, so you can see it was being promoted and publicized. So I have a few minutes here, 2 minutes, so I think I'll look for some highlights real quick before I end this video. Well, since I only have about 2 minutes left on this video, I'll just run through. This is the most recent Romantic Times I have, March 1995. I am ordering some more of them. In fact, I just got this in the mail. It was, well, about 23 of these other ones. I just got it in the mail yesterday, so I've not had a chance to do more than skim. But there's a letter section. It mentions Internet of Love. So this is March 1995, and someone says, I heard about your magazine on the Prodigy Romance Bulletin Board, and which is interesting. And here's I can't believe it's Fabio about his new butter ad. And Diana Palmer. And so on. Just go right through these. And they started adding more color. The magazine was thicker. And so on. Let's see here. There was one thing that was interesting. Letters from readers again. Let's see here. Online romance. So there is a even in 1995 a thing about oh, here's an interesting thing. It's also fun to share new discoveries such as Lord of Scoundrels by Loretta Chase, Avon, January 1995. This is March 1995, which I just added to my keeper's shelf. Which is interesting. That's a classic, now considered a classic book, but had just been released. And again, this is a guest columnist next to this. But again, these I think were from people that were involved in the early online romance movement. So, anyways, that's that. Lots of information here, and I'll have plenty of fun going through all these issues and seeing what interesting things I can find in there. Thanks for watching.